Hey there. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be much more relaxed, and it's essentially a show and tell that was inspired by Kelly Bear, whose last upload was of a travel charm box. She's going on vacation, and she decided to show us all what she would be bringing with her while she's gone, which was perfect timing for me because I'm actually taking a trip of my own. And since she asked so nicely for me to upload a video showing what I would bring, I thought I'd do just that. Anyone interested should go check out Kelly Bear's video. I've posted the link below. A witch goes on a trip. What does she bring? I don't know if any of you remember that old car ride game. It's not actually one I ever played with family. It was more of a late teen road tripping game and was appropriately dirty as a result. And not that I'm above that kind of lowbrow humor these days, but really, if a witch does go on a trip, what does she bring? Or he, or they, or any witch at all? Well, I mean, obviously there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's a very individual sort of thing. And in my case, that decision depends somewhat on where it is I'm going. In this case, I'm going to be spending time with a friend up in Canada. She and her partner live on a farm, and we will also be spending some time in cottage country. So I will get to rejoice in the bounties of nature, rolling fields and forests and beach, which also means that I'm going to be hopping the border from the US to Canada. And so this, of course, must factor into my decision when it comes to packing. And it is something that I do keep in mind because you can make your life kind of difficult when crossing the border if you pack the wrong sorts of things. But enough of that. Let's get to the gear. Now, from a practical standpoint, I actually go about my day-to-day life already hauling a certain amount of stuff around with me. These are the things I like to have on hand all the time just in case, so that I can do readings or work something basic or just enjoy myself at the drop of a hat. Also, there is a dash of post-apocalyptic survivalist in me, and these are the things that are the bare minimum that I would absolutely require in my magical go bag. So first things first, my tarot deck. I cart around 2 of them in this lovely little clutch that I received as a high school graduation gift, if you'll believe it, and is still in fantastic shape because it spent the next 15 years basically never being used. There was perhaps a time when the possibility remained that I may end up in one of those high-power careers that would be marked by enough fancy dinners and cocktail parties that I could actually be expected to carry around a red leather clutch on a regular basis. But at the end of the day, I did not become that woman. I am, as many of you who have subscribed and who watch my videos on a regular basis will know, a lab rat. My daily uniform, as a result, is some combination of shirt, leggings, and boots that does not amount to business casual, let alone business. And so, although I do enjoy rocking a blazer, I don't have a lot of call to use something like a purse, a clutch. But since I think this is lovely and since it matches my day timer, more on that later, I decided several months ago that I would start using this as my tarot bag, so that at the very least I'd get some use out of this beautiful gift. Now inside this bag, what I carry with me on a day-to-day basis is this beautiful obelisk, this pendulum necklace that I made, a citrine point and clear quartz clasp, and 2 tarot decks. One is the Pagan Otherworlds. The other is my minimalist black PVC tarot deck. And of course, since I do carry that deck around with me, I also carry a few markers, including a metallic Sharpie to freshen up any labeling that has rubbed off with time and wear, and a white chalk marker with which I can label cards, design sigils, and which can be wiped off very easily with just a damp rag or paper towel. Now, if you're interested in knowing more about this deck and you haven't actually seen the video on it, I do have one. I think it might actually be the first video I ever posted. And in it, I discuss both why I decided to use this black minimalist deck and how I use it. Next on the list of things I carry around with me, I always have one travel candle on hand. Now, of course, I make candles, so making a little travel candle is no big deal. And aside from being handy from a safety standpoint, having it with me means that wherever I go, I have the opportunity to work a little bit of magic with a candle. Now, if you're going to carry candles with you, it's a good idea to carry some means of lighting a candle. So matches, of course, live in my bag as well. And on the topic of matches, I wanted to introduce you to these, which I carry around all the time and which are absolutely a fantastic little creation. These matches are actually incense matches. You light them as you would any other match, let them burn for a very short while, and then blow them out. The rest of the matchstick itself is in fact incense, and so smokes and produces that wonderful incense scent. Now mine here are frankincense, which hands down remains my all-time favorite scent. Last but not least, among my regularly carried items are 4 very particular rings that I always have with me. You may have seen some of these in various videos, and for me, each of them represents one of the quarters. By having them with me at all times, not only can I switch out my jewelry as I choose, they've helped me tap into the sorts of energies that I'm interested in working with, even when I'm working on the fly. Now, like a proper witch, I have shit stashed at the office. Obviously, I have a huge collection of items and consumables at home, and since I'm therefore rarely more than 24 hours away from any item in my possession, I don't typically carry around more than that. However, since I'll be out of town for about a week, I'm going to be adding some additional things to my go bag, that is, to my luggage. First off, I'm going to be adding a couple of extra travel candles to my kit. I'm also going to be packing 4 more elemental representatives, which are in fact items that are usually on my altar, and which I incorporated into my altar with the express purpose of being able to then transport these smaller items with me when I traveled. For instance, the candle that I use to represent the element of fire has this beautiful glass charm that I affix to it and which I can remove and then pack. The cup full of water that I keep to the west has a shell in the bottom, which again I can remove, dry, and pack. And by maintaining this sort of consistency, this common thread between my travel items and my home altar, I really get the benefits of that familiarity and long-standing use when I go away from home. And because each of these items is quite small and not particularly striking, I can deploy them even in contexts in which I don't necessarily want to be outed or I'm staying with other people who don't know that I'm a witch, without it being overly obvious. Next on my packing list are salves. In this case, I'm bringing a wormwood and a mandrake salve, as well as this cute little peppermint balm that is both an excellent cuticle cream and a very soothing lip balm. Additionally, in a pinch, if you find yourself stuck with a headache and you don't have any drugs, or you choose not to take any drugs, massaging peppermint balm into your temples and at the base of your neck may provide some relief. Because of where I'm going and because my friend has fire pits at every locale we'll be staying, I'm also going to be packing these. They're little herbal pouches that capture, for me, both a fun, exhilarating party spirit and a deeper, more contemplative mood. Because I don't have the luxury of being able to burn things at home, I am not one to miss an opportunity to deploy a fire offering when I get the chance. so these are definitely going in my bag. Now we'll be in the country, and although it's early in the season, there's always the risk of ankle-biting insects. So I'll be bringing what has become a go-to for any time that I'm out camping or picnicking in a park or going to that one conference that's on a campus that is just like fucking riddled with grass fleas, a clove essential oil. Now this I made at home and it's very easy to do. Like any essential oil, it's oil and whatever herb you're interested in. And as far as mite and tick repellents go, you can't do much better than clove. This isn't just idle opinion. I've got a couple of peer-reviewed studies to back me up on this, which suggest that clove is at least as effective as citronella for keeping the biters away. Now, although I haven't specifically done an essential oil video, there really isn't anything to it. Certainly not if you're working with something that is, by and large, not particularly toxic. For clove oil, all I do is fill up a bottle or vial with cloves, add an oil, I use olive oil, and let it sit for a few weeks until it becomes particularly clovey. Alternately, if you do it at a higher temperature, if you're not just leaving it at room temp, but incubating it in a water bath, for instance, you can cut down that time. Now remember, as with salves, you don't want to top up the temperature too high. For more on that, you can check out my salve video. And finally, if you're going to be keeping this for any period of time, I would recommend adding a little bit of vitamin E oil and straining out the solids. Now, as you can tell, this particular vial has been well used, so I'll be bringing a fresher batch that's underway. And as a final note on clove oil, some people are quite sensitive to it and it can make you photosensitive, which is to say that it'll make you more prone to burning in the sun. As a result, if it's something you want to put directly on your skin, you do need to test it beforehand. This isn't one of those idle warnings that everyone gives about testing a product on a small patch of skin before using it. This really is one of those times you want to actually follow that instruction. But you don't need to use it directly on your skin in order for it to be effective. I simply take a cotton swab of it and rub it on my shoes, and that has been an effective means of avoiding getting bitten. Next on the list is a dream sachet. I have of late been doing a great deal of dream work as well as astral work. And since packing a pillow takes up a little bit too much space, I am instead opting to scale that down to a sachet that I can tuck under my neck as I sleep. Now, this is one of those things that is obviously quite particular to my situation. It's something I'm working on right now, and so I want to have that with me. But again, this item could be anything. If you're going to be taking a vacation and you want some level of continuity between the work you've been doing thus far at home and the time you'll be spending away so that it doesn't feel entirely like lost time, even if you don't dedicate quite as much effort to your practice while you're gone, then any small item that is suitably thematic can, I think, really help maintain that thread and provide you with something material that you can use and draw on in whatever few moments of alone time you happen to end up getting. Now sure, I've got salves, but this witch's trip would not be complete if she did not bring a tea. Now in this case, the tea that I'll be bringing is one that I have wanted this particular friend to try for a while, and one which she would like to try, but can't quite find one of the ingredients in her area. This is a tea that I absolutely love. It's ideal for any stressful periods, great to reduce anxiety, and depending on how you mix it up, a pretty fantastic somnolent. For the basic anxiolytic brew, all you need to do is combine equal parts chamomile, lavender, and skullcap. For something a little bit stronger, make it 2 parts skullcap and 1 part chamomile and lavender. To brew yourself a cup, Simply steep 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of this mixture in hot water for 10 minutes, then drink. It has a wonderful aroma and flavor and will definitely chill you out. Here it's worth noting that technically speaking, this is the sort of thing you can run into issues with when you're crossing a border. In my experience, customs, whether Canadian or American, doesn't really give a shit about tea. Now, it's customs, so one day they may choose to, in which case, shit, they'll just chuck it and that'll be the end of it. But if you are crossing a border, do make sure you acknowledge that you're carrying organic material in this form. Same goes for the clove oil if you've left cloves in it, and your incense bundles. Because you've strained any solids out of salves, you don't really need to worry about it. Since you're bringing tea, and since you also want to reinforce the idea that it is tea, don't forget your tea bags or your French press if that's the route you'd like to take, and you have ample room in your suitcase. It's worth noting that this tea does not contain any material that looks anything like illegal drugs. Everyone knows what chamomile and lavender is, and although skullcap is less common, it does not look like anything that's blatantly illegal. Being on the right side of the law doesn't mean you're not going to be given a hard time, though, and so I would never attempt to cross the border carrying something like mugwort. It's entirely legal, but the downy texture combined with the little crystals that appear in a good quality mugwort look a little too much like pot to be able to count on getting across the border without freaking someone out. And although, granted, mugwort doesn't smell anything like marijuana, it quite simply seems to me like you'd be asking for trouble if you tried to carry it across. And so, to recap, I have not had difficulty bringing herbal tisanes with me. Always make sure you declare them. It is in your best interest to ensure that they don't seem at all like illegal substances, and that you don't give people the impression that there might be something remotely sketchy. Finally, if you're going to be staying with someone, or in my case, yes, I'm staying with someone, but like shit, she's basically my sister. I don't need to bring her something every time I visit, but we will be making use of her parents' cottage. So something like a little thank you gift or housewarming gift is always nice. And so I will be bringing some homemade candles containing herbs, gems, and resins as a thank you for letting me use your place and enjoy the beautiful view. All of this seems like a ton of shit to bring, but the reality is it takes up very little space and provides a huge amount of variety and opportunity to do basically anything that strikes your fancy while you're away. Oh, and one final thing. I mentioned my day timer earlier. That goes with me everywhere, and it's where I write lessons from readings when I circle with my coven, or inspiration for videos when I'm out and about. And since I won't be bringing my BOS with me, it'll be where I record my experiences while I'm away. If you don't paper plan or regularly carry a journal with you, don't forget to bring one while you vacation, because there are few things more frustrating than discovering that you didn't even bring pen and paper with you when you really need it. So that's it. That's my vacation packing. I'd like to thank Kelly Bear for her fantastic video and for asking me to reciprocate. And to the rest of you, I hope you have a wonderful night.